Welcome to PMIYC TV. I'm David Farrell,
And I'm Lloyd Hughes.
and here we discuss obscure films with your favourite stars. And today's one is Foxes. Jodie Foster is the only star that came out of this film besides Randy Quaid, Lloyd, if you can believe it.
Awesome.
This is about four foxy ladies, as you would expect. The film came out in about 1980, and Jodie Foster stars as the most mature of the four foxes. It's very Sex and the City circa 1980, but they're all about 16, 17 years old. So one of the girls is Sherry Curie, who is the lead singer of the Runaways, or one of the two singers of the Runaways. Randy Quaid is in it, and Scott Baio, who was in Happy Days. I think he was Chachi, if I remember correctly. The interesting thing here, Lloyd, is that this is the first film directed by Adrian Lyne.
All right. What else has he done?
He did Flashdance after this one. He did Fatal Attraction. He's done Unfaithful with Diane Lane. This was his learning curve, I guess. This is the first feature-length film he's done. So the back of the box describes it as a rock and roll-filled trip through the fast lane of teenage life in the San Fernando Valley. And it's not fast. It's not, fast-paced. It's very talky. She plays Jeannie, one of the four girls, and they go out partying a lot. And one of her friends, Annie, she has an abusive father situation, and she also abuses drugs. So there's this ongoing threat to kind of put her in a mental hospital, and there's this sort of vague threat to her life, like if she keeps up this rock and roll lifestyle, that her friend is going to find herself dead. Basically, it's apparently quite a good snapshot of the era. So they say things like "shine you," which is like an insult in 1980 that didn't last very long. One of the interesting things that comes out of this is Randy Quaid. He's playing about a 30-year-old, and he marries a 16-year-old, one of the four girls. So Randy Quaid marrying a 16-year-old would probably be like a crime if a 30-year-old married a 16-year-old today. But anyway, the content of the film, I mean, it takes about an hour for anything to really get going, because they throw a party about an hour into the film, and then these guys crash the party and do a lot of damage to Randy Quaid's house. Randy Quaid's not there at the time. And look, the IMDb blurb is more, I think, telling of what they were trying to do. It says, Deidre is fascinated by sex, Madge is unhappily overweight, Annie is into drugs, and Jeannie has to take care of them all. Which doesn't quite come across. The other characters kind of fall away. It really is about Jodie Foster's character, Jeannie, and Sherry Curie from The Runaways, her character, Annie. So, look, there's a lot of Coke sponsorship throughout this thing. Randy Quaid's apartment or house is full of Coke stuff. He might work for Coke. That might be his character, but it's never mentioned. They're drinking Cokes in every other scene. It's something we notice more today, perhaps, than back there. I want to get into spoilers really quickly. The final 10 minutes. Look, there's a skateboard chase, I should mention, down the Hollywood Hills with Scott Baio. And look, Laura Dern has a cameo at the party. These are some of the very small highlights I found. But the final 10 minutes has this hitchhike situation where the girl who was abusing the drugs the whole time, she's fine. She's coming off of a party and like the drugs and stuff, and she gets in the car with this couple who are credited in the credits as swingers. So she gets in the car with them, and they're drinking and driving, and then they crash immediately.
Oh, right.
And she doesn't survive. And so it's like this random event that takes her away, rather than the drugs and an overdose or something like that. So it's interesting.
So it's a coming of age sort of story, like
definitely.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. It's pre Breakfast Club and all that, so it's like a precursor to those runner movies.
It is, and Sofia Coppola has talked about Foxes being an influence in some of the shots in The Bling Ring, which is her most recent film. Yeah,
does it look really 80s or more 70s, like coming out in 1980? Like, I'm looking at the front cover right now on IMDb. It looks very 80s.
Yeah, it was 1980, so it was seemingly shot in the 70s, late 70s. Yep. So It's very smoky, natural light being used. Everything, yeah. There's one person on IMDb, and I wish I'd taken their handle down, was saying, I'm not sure this counts as a movie because it's just like a series of scenes and stuff. But there is some style to this. Adrian Lyne has brought in like several action scenes where he's used a quick zoom effect, and like, you know, there's some traits of his here, but I think this is probably where he's started learning about, you know, female characters on screen more than anything.
It sounds a bit a bit ahead of its time, this movie, but not great.
I think so. And look, we always talk about these films because there's a star in them, so I'll just mention that Jodie Foster is obviously the standout performer in this. She's far better than the three other girls, and the IMDb resumes and what they went on to do after this is very telling of that.
She was sort of like a veteran by the time this movie was made anyway, with her performance in Taxi Driver.
4 years earlier, yeah, exactly. All right, you can find more from us at www.podmeifyoucan.com.